Before we get into this powerful story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give the video a like. It all began with a low, sharp laugh. "Check this guy out," Officer Jensen whispered, nudging his partner as a tall black man in a sleek charcoal suit walked into the courtroom. Probably one of those slick public defenders. Thinks he's smarter than the system. The man didn't react. He didn't even look their way. He walked with quiet confidence, back straight, steps calm. He gave a respectful nod to the judge and sat down in the gallery, third row from the front. To the officers, he was just another face, just another black man walking into a courtroom. They judged him by his skin before they noticed anything else. That was their first mistake. Outside, the media buzzed with talk of the case. Darius Mitchell, a young black college student, had been arrested 2 months ago. The charges? Resisting arrest and assaulting a police officer. But the body cam footage had vanished, and witnesses told different stories. Officers Jensen and Burke stuck to theirs, saying Darius was aggressive, even violent. The courtroom wasn't packed, but there was heavy tension in the air. Everyone seemed to sense that something big was about to happen, bigger than just one trial. As the prosecution started presenting their side, the two officers sat confidently beside their lawyer. Officer Burke kept sneaking looks at the man in the suit. He leaned over and muttered something to Jensen, another quiet laugh. "Probably just a family member trying to look important," Burke said with a grin. They didn't notice the small nod between the judge and the suited man. They missed the respectful looks from court staff as he walked by. They didn't see the assistant district attorney pause when she spotted him in the crowd. The man said nothing. He simply watched. Darius sat next to his public defender, hands clenched in his lap. He looked worn down, not just tired, but emotionally drained, as if the fight had been taken from him long before today. Behind him, his mother whispered prayers into shaking fingers. When the defense spoke, they said Darius had been walking home from a friend's place, earbuds in. He didn't hear the police call out to him. When he saw them rushing toward him, with hands near their weapons, he panicked, like so many young black men in America would. He raised his hands and said he was unarmed, but they tackled him anyway. "He shoved me," Officer Burke claimed on the stand, his voice full of forced emotion. "We feared for our safety." There were no bruises on the officers, no hospital records, just paperwork and a story people had heard too many times before. Then the defense rested. The judge called a short break before closing arguments, and that's when everything changed. The man in the suit stood up. He walked past the lawyers, past the stunned defendant, and stopped in front of the judge. "Your Honor," he said calmly, his voice smooth and firm. "May I address the court briefly?" The judge straightened and gave a slight smile. "Of course, Director Hayes, you have the floor." A wave of shock moved through the courtroom. "Director?" "Hayes?" Officer Jensen sat up straighter. "What the hell?" he muttered. The man turned slowly and addressed the court. "My name is Malcolm Hayes. I'm the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation." Gasps echoed softly through the room. One woman covered her mouth. Darius's mother nearly dropped her purse. Hayes went on, his voice calm but strong. "I didn't come here today as the head of a government agency. I came as a black man living in America. I came because when I read this case file, it felt familiar. I saw a young man judged for the color of his skin. I saw missing footage. I saw facts that didn't line up. And most of all, I saw two officers who failed to recognize the human being in front of them." He looked directly at Officers Jensen and Burke. "I've been stopped too. I've been watched in stores. I've had guns pointed at me just for jogging in my own neighborhood. The only thing that separates me from Darius Mitchell is this suit and the title I hold." The room went completely quiet. "I want everyone here to think about what that means," he continued. "If the man you laughed at today had been wearing a hoodie instead of a suit, You wouldn't have given him a second glance. That's exactly what happened to Darius. He turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'm not here to sway your ruling, but I ask the court to consider the pattern. This isn't just about one night. It's about a system that too often sees guilt instead of presence and sees a threat instead of a person. Then he looked back at Darius. His tone softened. You're not invisible, son. You matter, and you are not alone. The courtroom stayed silent. No one laughed now. Officer Burke's jaw tightened. Jensen stared down at the floor, pretending to study the tiles. The jury took less than 2 hours to decide. The verdict, not guilty. Outside, reporters swarmed the building. The story had already gone viral. FBI director speaks out in courtroom during trial of black teen. Clips of his speech were spreading online faster than news stations could report it. But Director Hayes didn't stay for interviews. Instead, he found Darius and his mother outside, overwhelmed and unsure. Thank you, sir, Darius said softly, tears in his eyes. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did, Hayes replied, because one day it'll be your turn to do it for someone else. That night, Officer Jensen turned in his badge. He didn't say much, just walked into the station, placed it on the desk, and left. Officer Burke was put on administrative leave while an internal review began. The mayor's office had already released a statement expressing serious concern over ongoing systemic failures. Director Hayes flew back to Washington the next morning. He sat at his desk, looking out the window toward the Capitol. He thought about the quiet fight he'd been fighting his whole life. All the times he'd bitten his tongue, held back his anger, swallowed his pride. But this time, just this once, he had spoken up. Because respect shouldn't be based on how someone looks. Justice shouldn't depend on job titles, and a man's worth should never be measured by the color of his skin. Not everyone in that courtroom walked away changed, but some did. And sometimes, that's enough to start something. In a world where people are judged before they're understood, one man's presence was enough to shake the system. If this story meant something to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, remember, the quietest voices often carry the loudest truths.